What up? We are back. Hoop Talk. I just saw my man Adam bobbing his head in the background when the music was on.
Love intro music, baby. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yes, as always, shout out to my cousin Anitra. She does the real work around here. We're excited. We got another episode. We are back again. Final Four. We just had a Sweet 16. More job stuff keeps happening. Plenty to talk about, man. Any opening thoughts? I'll let you run with it.
Yeah, you got it. What an exciting time right now, right? Sweet 16 just ended, headed to the Final Four, and a lot of stuff happening on the job front. A lot of hirings, and a lot of guys about to get hired, and a bunch of jobs maybe about to open. But I think we'll cover a lot of that.
Yes, we'll cover it all. So we're gonna go quickly into Sweet 16 shout outs. We'll talk Final Four, and then we'll talk about jobs, which is what most people want to hear about. So before we do that, you did give a 60-second update here recently. We talked about this on the last episode, but the trend of how fast these hires are going continues. And we talked about those 3 reasons you mentioned on the 60-second update, which are the Zoom capability for people and going through the pandemic and getting used to that.
Yep.
The last one you said was the transfer portal. The middle one was the search firm. So any thoughts on that real quick as we keep seeing it, and then we'll go into it?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's definitely continuing. And it's funny because I think a lot of schools and athletic directors have embraced it so far, and you can see it move along. But you'll probably see when we start talking about some of these jobs, some haven't. And it's amazing how long some of these have dragged out for. So it's interesting to see kind of who's jumped on and who hasn't. And it's like, we've talked before about, even in coaching, like you got to embrace the transfer portal. You got to embrace all the name, image, likeness stuff, like ADs have to jump on. They have to embrace Zoom. You have to embrace a search firm, whether you like it or not, because they're going to get you so much information, and you have to embrace the fact that you need to get a guy on campus ASAP. And, and Brian, one of the things that we didn't talk about a lot too, though, is some of the changes, and you go back again, like I'm an old guy, back in the old days, practice started October 15th and you practice
right
now, like you certain hours a week, you can start working with your guys, like even before Frank Martin's press conference yesterday at UMass, there's videos of him on the court working out with his guys.
How about that?
So that's another way, that's another reason guys are getting coaches in quickly, because you're getting them with your team. You have you get your certain amount of hours a week that you can be out there with them. So it's amazing that you got to embrace the new.
Better embrace the new. Otherwise, you get passed up, as we talked about. Adapt or die, as they say.
You got it.
Yeah, so we'll cover Sweet 16, Final Four, get to the job stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the hires that have happened and thoughts on some of those, and then we'll talk about some of the new stuff that's coming. So let's just talk quick Sweet 16 shout-outs. I think the obvious one to shout out is St. Peter's, the story of the tournament. I know probably later in the broadcast we'll talk about their head coach and what may be happening with him, but let's just talk about the Peacocks for a minute. The first 15 seed to ever make it to an Elite Eight. Incredible story. Really didn't have like a star player, as you saw kind of with ORU when they beat, I believe it was Florida and Ohio State last year and go to the Sweet 16. They had, Max was on fire. Then they had the young fella that's at Texas Tech, Kevin O'Banner. So they had 2 guys that were going for 25, 30 every game, whereas this St. Peter's team, collective team effort. I think most people in the country don't necessarily know guys' names on the roster. They just know they're rooting for the Peacocks, and they know the coach is really cool. So talk about your thoughts on watching that run.
Yeah, what a great run, huh? It was a lot of fun to watch, and I mean, look at the teams they beat. To beat Kentucky, just the history and the season they had to beat Kentucky. Then Murray State, and like we've talked about before, Murray State had one of the best mid-major, maybe the best mid-major season in the country.
They did.
Beat them.
They had an undefeated conference season, which I think kind of goes forgotten, and they had the longest winning streak in the country.
They won like 21.
Second longest winning streak in the country was St. Peter's, which is kind of wild that people didn't even know that.
Yeah, which is nuts. And then to go beat Purdue, who had been ranked number 1 probably multiple times during the season. Yep. And it's amazing. Like little St. Peter's, everybody in the country knew who they were by the time they played North Carolina. So I think it's a shame that their run came to an end. But what a run! Like, who cares? Like, they made it to the Elite Eight. Like, are you kidding me? like, that's going to be something that people are going to talk about forever, and something that those are going to have forever. And, St. Peter's is going to have forever. And it's just, it's history. And they lost to North Carolina. North Carolina played great, absolutely dominated them on the glass. But, what a run. And that's, people aren't going to remember that. People aren't going to remember they lost, they remember, hey, they were an Elite 18.
I mean, who cares about that? Even Shaheen Holloway said it. He's like, this is going to be talked about for a long time. And it should be, what a run. I think he was the star face of the tournament, the star of the tournament, to be able to, I mean, if you've seen some of the numbers, I don't have them all in front of me, but if you've seen some of the numbers of just how small of a school St. Peter's is compared to the field that they played against one of the ultimate blue bloods in Kentucky, take them down. They're probably Kentucky's basketball budget is more than St. Peter's entire school, I would imagine. So that was a big one. And then to take down, like you said, Purdue, and then one of the hottest mid-majors. It's not even like you're talking about, okay, there's this size differential that maybe they had this advantage because they were undersized. Like, no, they played against the best of the best. So amazing run. Love to see it. Anyone else you want to shout out? I'm going to go run and grab my charger. I'm going to big screen you. I'm still here. I'll be right back. But any other shout outs?
Yeah, a couple. So I think one of my favorite shout outs here is going to Arkansas. Arkansas made a great run in this thing, knocked off number 1 Gonzaga, and with Eric Musselman at Arkansas, I just think a lot of people like watching him, like watching the energy that he brings, and to take down a number 1 seed and play a pretty good game against Duke was great. And I think Arkansas's got an unbelievable recruiting class coming in. I think you're going to have to deal with Coach Musselman and Arkansas for a long time to come. But I was really happy to see them advance. So good shout out to those guys.
One note on Arkansas too, with the recruiting class, my understanding is that they figured out the NIL maybe as good as anyone, and that's a big part of right, wrong, and different. It's real. It's a part of college basketball, just like the transfer portal. And I believe they may be the best in the industry so far at kind of packaging that stuff and kids understanding what they can capitalize on. So I think that has a lot to do with what's going on there.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? This new day, like you have to figure that out. You have to be able to have a strong NIL program, and kids have to come in, knowing what they're going to get. So I think that's huge for Arkansas.
Now, coaches can't talk about it, of course, supposedly, but you get the point. They're going to find out the numbers and be able to present it in a way, however they do it. I'm not here to say that, but another Sweet 16 shout out. I mean, everyone deserves it, but I think that Iowa, we talked about it before, Miami matchup, where both teams, I mean, nobody expected them to be in Sweet 16. One of them, of course, Miami makes it to Elite 8. No one expected that. But the two stories there is the combination of the COVID year and having guys have an extra year, Cameron McGusty and guys like that, first team all conference, ACC. And then you have the transfer portal where they have more transfers over. And then for Iowa State, they have pretty much majority transfer portal guys, and not necessarily the biggest names in the portal, but figured out to get the right pieces and get good really fast. So I think those two deserve kind of some shout outs, which everyone does, but we'll give a couple more and then move to the next one.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, here's my last one, right? We've got to get to Kelvin Sampson in Houston. You know what? Another great run for these guys. Knocked off number 1 Arizona in the Sweet 16. It just didn't knock them. I mean, they beat them handily.
Dominated,
really good game against Villanova in the Elite 8. But what he's put together at Houston is amazing. I mean, it really is. He's done such a good job there. They're so fun to watch. The energy and athleticism, like it's amazing. So, shout out to them. I wish they would have been back in the Final Four. I think that's, but he's going to have them in a good position.
No doubt. He said we'll be back. He said we'll be back. And I'm biased. I have friends in that program, and I'm from Texas and lived in Houston, and love to see what those guys are doing, and especially despite the injuries. I mean, I sent a shout out to them on Twitter myself to be able to say, like, last year, people forget, like, and Caleb Mills was the preseason player of the year for Houston, really didn't play the whole year and ended up transferring to Florida State. Good player. It's worked out well for him, but Houston goes to the Final Four and doesn't have a preseason player of the year. How many programs could ever do that? I don't know if there is another program that could. And then this year, to Lou Sasser, who's basically a preseason first team guy, and lose Trayvon Mark to be able to do what they did is absolutely incredible. All right, let's talk Final Four because it's like the blue bloods of blue bloods and the storylines, the Kansas Villanova rematch, and then you have the Duke Carolina rivalry in the Final Four rematch. The coach going out, you got the new coach in Hubert Davis just coming in. People didn't think Hubert could get it done. They're in the Final Four first year, which is amazing for him for people to rally behind and know he can do it at a high level. And then for Coach K, the story, it feels like we're in a movie right now, to be honest, because Coach K has this team, to Duke's credit, they're playing some phenomenal basketball, the best that they've played all year. They've kind of always had the talent. We talked about how young they were before. So, yeah, those two matchups, I don't know if you can have much more must-see TV than that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, really, like the blue bloods of college basketball. And I wonder how Kentucky feels when everybody keeps saying the blue bloods, because they're kind of here when they think. But anyway,
and UCLA was there last year. They're traditional blue bloods, so they were there last year, so they can at least say that.
That's right. But yeah, but some pretty cool matchups, right? Like, you know, especially the Duke and Carolina one, like you said, like a Cinderella, like this fairy tale. Like, how is this happening? You know, like Coach K's last year, and you know, not only did they make it to the Final Four, you know, they're going to play Carolina in the Final Four. Like, and, you know, so there's a lot of stats and a lot of lines and a lot of stuff we could talk about here. But one of the cool stats, I tweeted about this earlier. Coach K all-time victories 1,202. Hubert Davis all-time victories 28. Like, that's pretty cool. But you know what? They both won 4 games in this tournament.
Right.
So, you know, it's just so cool that, you know, and like everybody in America watched Coach K's last home game when Carolina beat him, and how upset Coach K was after the game. And
right,
you know, I think these teams know each other so well. I think this will be a good. It's going to be a great matchup. So, a couple of things real quick. So obviously,
how about this? I'm gonna jump in and say, how happy do you think the people that created the bracket are right now? Like, I mean, they gotta be like, we planned it, more or less. Maybe not, but they got the Duke Carolina matchup. They put it on the same side for a reason.
Yeah.
They were hoping, like, secretly, that somehow if these two teams can figure it out, absolutely. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, this is gold for them, right? This is like,
no doubt.
This is money making gold. All the people that are going to watch, you know, this Final Four, especially this matchup, it's unbelievable. But you know, so you know, Carolina's playing really well right now. They're 10-1 in their last 11. You know, their only loss was in the ACC tournament. In that winning streak, they beat Duke at Duke. You know, Armando Bacot is, you know, a double machine in there. He's great. But here's the deal with Duke. Like, they're playing really, really well right now too. They are Ken Palm #1 in offensive efficiency. Right, they average just over 80 points a game. They shoot the three so well. I don't know, man. I think that, and you know, you've been in this business a long time, right? Sometimes a loss might help down the road, and it's hard to say.
No,
but you know,
especially that loss on such a big night. It's like, if they ever had a chance for redemption, it's obviously national championship. But if you can beat that team to go to the national championship and end their season, I mean, it couldn't be a perfect story for Duke to be motivated with incentive because they just got embarrassed at home on Duke's case, Coach K's special night.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a huge motivator. And, you know, and we've talked about it before, like, you know, I think this probably it has been a big distraction to Duke and their players, like the Coach farewell tour. But now it actually becomes personal to them because they lost at home to Carolina.
Right.
Now it becomes personal for them. You know, now they have a chip on their shoulder. It is about Coach K, sure, but it's also they need to avenge the loss that, you know, they lost. So that would be a great game. But I think Duke is playing so well right now.
Yeah, they are. I do think Carolina, the way they're shooting the three, makes it where because Duke's also protecting the rim, it feels like very at a high level. So you got to be able to make threes against them, which Carolina can do, and you got to be able to get offensive rebounds. So what do you think about this other matchup, the rematch? Kansas still, and both these teams have not been the sexy picks all year long, although Kansas is the only #1 seed left. Villanova's a 2 seed. They're consistently in the Final Four. They've won more national championships in the last handful of years than anyone else. But it feels like they're still the most underdog team in the whole thing.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, I think there's two kind of, in my mind, two things at play here, right? Villanova, everyone knows like Villanova and their pace of play, and they're very efficient and they take their time. They only allow 62 points a game because they give you so few possessions. But one of the things that's going to hurt them is Justin Moore's out. He's been great for them all season. He tore his Achilles like in the last 35 seconds in their last game. He's in like the top 3 in every major stat for Villanova: assists, steals, rebounds. I think he's second in scoring. That's a huge loss for them. And not only that, he averages 34 minutes a game. So now you've really shortened your bench. Especially if like Caleb Daniels is going to start, I think. So I think that's really going to hurt Villanova. On the flip side of it, though, for Kansas, look, I mean, Remy Martin missed a ton of time during the season. He missed like 10 games, was banged up for a lot of them. I love the way Remy Martin's playing right now. Like, you watch him, like he's a leader, man. And obviously Kansas had a lot of other pieces, but to me, it's kind of like Villanova losing Justin Moore and Kansas having Remy Martin playing the way he's playing right now. I think that's why the advantage has to go to Kansas.
Yeah, kind of amazing to think that the Remy Martin story, right? Like, came from Arizona State. If I'm not mistaken, pretty sure he led the Pac-12 in scoring last year. Was a big-time player, but Arizona State didn't win. Yeah. And it kind of came with a rap that may have had some question marks, not the talent, but just, is he about winning, or can his style equate to winning? Although he's very fun to watch. So to see how it's kind of managed, how Coach Self has managed this and brings him off the bench and has just figured out how to make him play his best get him playing his best basketball at the right time and playing the way that they want him to play. They have a first-team All-American on this team, but yeah, Remy Martin is kind of the face of this run so far. So that's pretty incredible to have that level of talent, and I still think Abachi's best basketball. He kind of got some of that out against Miami as the game got away, and I think he's going to play really well. And hard to go against Villanova. If they didn't have the injury, a different conversation. They may rally behind that. Colin Gillespie feels like he's been in school for like a decade, but yeah, it's going to be 2 great games. Yeah, hard to say who I would actually go with. I'm still going to go underdog with Carolina and the Hubert Davis story. I'm going to go ride that wave. I think it's an incredible one. And then I'm going to go Kansas as well. I'm going those 2. I'll pick do I have to pick my winner now? No, we can do a show before then. All right, we'll do a show before the game, and we'll pick my winner.
I like it.
Your picks, you got to say your pick. You don't have to say your picks.
Well, listen, I kind of talked about it a little bit. Like, I'm going Duke over Carolina. Yes. Even though personally, I'd like to see Hubert Davis win this game, but I think Duke's going to beat him. And then same thing, I think Kansas will beat Villanova, and really just because of the Justin Moore injury. I just think that hurts Villanova in so many ways. I mean, it's a guy that really can play like the 1 through 4 position for them, but a little bit of everything. But honestly, like, just choose minutes. And now those minutes, 34, just over 34 minutes a game have to go somewhere else. So, so I think it's going to be a Kansas Duke national championship game, and we'll give our predictions on that one on the show. How's that?
We'll do that. We'll do that on the next one. So I don't think we talked. Did we talk about the national champion for NAI and D2? We did talk about D2. We did all those. Okay, good. All right, so we're good on all the basketball talk. Let's get to the job stuff. Let's get to the good stuff. Opening thoughts on the job stuff before we dive into whether we do grades first or however we choose to do it.
Yeah, it's up to you what we do first. I don't know. I mean, like we keep saying, it's just been such a unique hiring process this year. After coming out of 2 kind of like COVID years where everything's been so strange.
Right.
Now we just get hit with, you don't hear of all the ADs heading to the Final Four and all the interviews at the Final Four and all this stuff going on the Final Four. Like, the Final Four is now just like a hangout time.
Yep. It's almost like figure out your assistant's time. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't know if some head coaches may not want to go and almost hide out, but you almost probably have to go to bump into a few people here and there, or maybe have a interview in your, I don't know, hotel room or whatever makes sense. But I would imagine there's going to be a lot of assistant coaches. Think about how many jobs we'll talk about have been filled there's full staffs that probably guys have to hire at least 1, maybe 2 guys on a lot of these staffs.
Yeah, no, you're right. And and we talk about the Final Four a lot as far as, Division I ADs and Division I coaches, but you've been there a lot. I've been there a lot. I mean, you're going to have, every D2 guy, D3 guy, NAI, junior college. I mean, there's going to be thousands of coaches down there networking, and not just for these, big time high major jobs. Division 2s and 3s are opening. There's actually a couple of Division 2s that might be interviewing down there.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But you know what it's like where these young assistants are all trying to, run out there and meet guys. And so it's, again, the process has changed a little bit at the high major level and the Division 1 level in general. But the Final Four is still going to be a major networking event.
No doubt. It's still going to be going down. No doubt about it. All right, let's talk new stuff that's coming. Let's talk the some of the latest. We have some openings.
Yeah.
Kind of open some thoughts on maybe what may be coming / what's just open, and we'll just talk in general.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple that are I think getting closer to getting done here, and some that we've talked about. So George Washington is definitely in their Final Four.
Yeah,
we talked about George Washington, but I can confirm the Final Four: Chris Caputo from Miami, Mike Pegues from Louisville, the former interim head coach there, Jason Williford from Virginia, and a head coach from the area-ish at a lower level is definitely in the Final Four. So every one of these Final Four candidates does have, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia connections, some big time DMV connections. The one thing I've heard though in the last 24 hours maybe is that Jason Williford may have pulled out of this thing. So I think some of the talk is it really now just down to 3, or are they adding a 4th?
Right.
The 4th that people talk about, which may not be true, is like John Becker from Vermont. So I think that's the only kind of question mark. But like legit confirmed sources, that was the Final Four, and it's just a matter of what Williford's doing. But this thing will get done next week. I mean,
is the lower level coach still a secret? I don't mind. I figure it is. Okay. But he's local enough. I think people can probably read between the lines.
It's someone we haven't mentioned before. 100% confirmed, and will be a phenomenal choice.
Yep. I love it. All right. What's the next one we want to go into?
Well, so let's talk about this one. And I don't think we've talked about this one a lot. So Cleveland State with Dennis Gates.
Let's definitely talk about that one.
This has been an interesting one. There's not a lot of names out there. So CSA, Collegiate Sports Associates, has the search from that. So what Cleveland State has done, I think originally, like we had talked about, maybe like Drew Joyce III will be a phenomenal choice, and LeBron tweeted about him. Like if that hasn't happened by now, the longer that kind of, we get from that, I think the worse chance that he has to get it. So from what I've heard from some really good people, Cleveland State has already done 20 first round interviews by Zoom.
Yeah.
So they've taken that 20, and it sounds like they are or will be down to 8 by the Final Four, which is like 2 days from now. And then sometime right after the Final Four, they will bring that final group of maybe 4 to campus with the hopes of being done next week. So again, like George,
I think they're on, if I understood my conversation with one of the people that interviewed correctly, I think they're in the second pool, and I believe it might be 6 and not 8. I think it's 6.
Yeah. So right. So they're making progress. So it's kind of the same as George Washington, where they're headed toward an announcement for next week.
Yep. Anyone you've heard or like in the process of this one?
This has been a tough one. Like I can't get a ton of names, besides, the Drew Joyce, which I don't think will happen. I have not heard, and you hear some names here and there, but like nothing like legit, nothing,
right.
Just want to throw stuff out. I don't want to talk about stuff that guys just say, but nothing like, I mean, I know some, agents who've had their guys interview, but I can't say those.
Yeah. We'll look forward to seeing, I'm curious about this one. It is a good job. It is a job, obviously, that they've proven you can win at.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how this one shakes out.
And to be honest, my assumption is here when they get to the on-campus round, which sounds like it should be 4 guys, maybe less, but I'll have names by then that will be
right, for sure. I have no doubt. So you'll have the dirt.
We tried, man.
No doubt.
So a couple more real quick.
Please.
One more that we haven't talked about, Miami of Ohio.
Yep.
Interesting one there. So I think the most interesting name coming there is Travis Steele, former Xavier head coach.
Yeah.
And that's been an interesting one. But also Jermaine Henderson, who was at Kansas State. He was actually a longtime assistant at Miami of Ohio, played there. And the last one that's kind of making the rounds is Dane Fife, who just got let go at Indiana as an assistant. So those are kind of the three names at Miami of Ohio that have been making the rounds. And, the Travis Steele one is so interesting because, like watching last night, Xavier advanced to the NIT championship game, and Jonas Hayes is coaching the team. It's, Travis Steele's team. They're in the NIT championship, but you got Sean Miller, who's, coming in a week to be there. Like, it's just such an odd situation. And, it's one of those things like Travis Steele was there for 4 years, didn't make an NCAA tournament, gets canned, but like he's got his team in the NIT championship. I don't know. It's such an odd.
What a time. I mean, it's just such a high expectation job. Unfortunately, you're following Chris Mack, and somewhere Chris Mack is just like, how did I not get this shot again? Interesting times for sure. Let's talk about since you mentioned Hayes, let's talk about Georgia State and what you're hearing there. I know he's been mentioned as a favorite by many people. What's your thoughts there?
So I do. You're right. I do think he's a favorite there. Like, I think there was some talk early about him possibly, going back to Georgia and White staff. That 99. That's not going to happen. I do think he is a legitimate contender for Georgia State. But I also think, kind of the name making the rounds a little bit too is Cliff Warren. He's there. He was there.
And he's interviewing.
Yep, exactly. And you look at him. I mean, he's Jacksonville's all-time leader in wins. As a head coach, was there for 9 years, has high major experience, is a really good coach. And again, like we've said this before, guys who have been part of successful programs should get the opportunity. With Rob Lanier headed to SMU, Cliff Warren's been a part of all this. So I think he's going to be in the mix. And those are, like you said, Jonas Hayes, those are the two names that are really kind of the hot two there.
Yeah, good too. Very, very good too.
You're right. I mean, that's honestly, really, it's a really strong group, isn't it? Like if that is in fact like the two that it comes down to, you can't go wrong.
And a job that people have won there and moved on. So definitely a place that's built to win. And somehow, some way, you just know in the Sun Belt, Georgia State's always kind of be a player when it comes tournament time. All right, any other ones that kind of stick out? I think we haven't talked about there's a handful still open. What about this San Diego job? This is kind of still the weird one. It's one of those that's been open for a long time. Yeah. What are you hearing? What's kind of going on there? I'm imagining they're going to interview at the Final Four probably, and who knows?
So the latest, and this comes from a couple pretty good people, and we've talked about James Jones from Yale here before.
Yep.
But the latest chatter is like he is like really, really the leader here.
Wow.
And I think some people he was, involved in George Washington early and is not anymore. And I think that was his choice. And I think from the people I talked to, it sounds like James Jones legitimately is the leader at San Diego.
Wow.
And could be making some progress there. So, yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, he's number one. He's the top of my list. And the other guys, we've talked about like Greg Lansing and Larry Kristowiak and some other names there. It seems like right now that is number one there.
Yeah. All right. San Diego. We shall see. This is probably the one that's been open the longest, it feels like, right? It kind of did something pretty early. And
wow. It's been open a while.
Still hanging around.
So I got one last one for you, Brian.
Yeah. What you got?
One last one. And then you can, it might be more, whatever. But the most interesting one that I've heard so far, and I talked about this a little bit in some things I did, LaSalle in Philadelphia. Yeah. We talked about it last time with some names.
Another A-10 job.
Yeah. But the name that is really like, you hear this from a lot of people, and there is there is a ton of credibility to this, is Fran Dunphy. So Fran Dunphy, the former head coach at Temple, former coach at Penn, he's won almost 600 games in his career. He's 73 years old, but he is a Philly guy. Has coached at Philly schools his whole life, understands Philly basketball. I think he was an assistant twice there in the 80s. So he gets it. But this is, when I tell you it's a legit name there, like it is a legit, like Fran Dunphy is legitimately involved at LaSalle. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Some people said that, we'll have a little bit more clarity on this one by the end of the week.
How about that? All right. Now, Phil Martelli's name was mentioned for one of these. This was the one that we talked about, Phil Martelli possibly?
Absolutely. That's another strong name here. He's obviously, younger than Fran Dunphy and had a ton of success at St. Joe's, another Philly guy, and has done a really, really good job at Michigan as the associate head coach there under Juwan Howard. So that will be another good name. But, like the legit Philly people are saying like Fran Dunphy is.
How about that? Circling back
in the mix. Yeah. Crazy.
Circling back. All right. Yeah, there's a few still open. Obviously, we haven't talked about this one yet. That's another high level job on the East Coast. It's kind of already done and been done by the former player who led them to the Sweet 16. Let's talk about this Seton Hall opening.
Yeah, that's I mean, I think everybody in the world is talking about this one right now. Not kind of if more so when Shaheen Holloway would be named as the head coach at Seton Hall, and again, it's just one of those things that makes so much sense. He was a star player there. He led him to a Sweet 16 in 2000. Yep. St. Peter's is the first New Jersey team to go to the Sweet 16 since 2000 when them. Most it's got to be done, right? Like it has to be. And a lot of people say, he does have an allegiance to St. Peter's and what he did with these guys. But again, Seton Hall is his alma mater. And then you look at salary, and I know we've talked about guys with salary before, but Shaheen Holloway's making a reported like $156,000 a year at St. Peter's.
He's a millionaire now.
Then you're going to go to, Seton Hall, and what are you going to make? 2.5 at least. So I mean,
he's definitely shout out to Fat Joe. He's definitely yesterday's price is not today's price. His price has gone up for sure on Shaheen Holloway. He may have gotten a job before, but the price has gone up. And I would imagine you see him with endorsements and the whole nine from what's happened. And cool story too for the player. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. 25 with his mustache with St. Peter.
Doug Eater. Yeah.
Yes, he got his it reportedly he made $10,000 on his first NIL deal that he literally got between one round and the next, and made like $10,000 from Buffalo Wild Wings. So shout out to the NIL capitalizing for that young man. But I would imagine, the price has gone up. He deserves it, and he'll kill it here. A Big East job, a job that's a top Power 6 basketball job. So he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, and it's funny, like you said, like the price goes up, and I think you're right. And you talk to a lot of people around this, and people will say like he was getting this job whether St. Peter's made this run or not. Like he was getting the job when Kevin Willard leaves.
Right. It was already kind of lined up, but now, like you said, the price is definitely going up.
Yes, sir. So again, I just think it, like most people, it's a matter of, when, not if.
Right.
So we'll see, but I will keep my eye on this probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, only a few that are really open left. We'll talk about two more. Western Michigan has kind of been another one of those that's just like hanging around, and no one really knows what's going on. Kind of a weird one. I don't know if you have any updates. I haven't heard much. What's the latest you think on this one?
Yeah, so I don't have anything new. So like I said, and again, we talked about it before. It's just such an odd situation where, I don't, I know a couple guys that were involved early, and theme seems to be like, not much of a commitment to the program there right now. So I'm scared guys off. And this one is dragged on too for a long time. I mean, this has been the better part of a month. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know who they're going to find. I haven't gotten any legit names. I mean, I know some guys that are guys that I know that have, been a little bit interested that are not anymore, that have had some initial conversations, but it's kind of disappointing to see what happened there. So.
Yeah, I did. Rob Jones is this guy who is going to interview. I don't think he would take it, me personally, but I did hear a pretty strong source that he's interviewed for this job and one other opening that's actually currently opening. So shout out to Rob Jones. He definitely deserves to get one of these along the way. And if not, he's got a great job where he is, and he'll get one in the next cycle. One other one that's open is Chattanooga. What is the latest on Chattanooga?
Yeah, so a bunch of names bouncing around here, and a lot of guys with kind of ties to the program or ties to the AD. The one thing that I have heard that kind of with George Washington, Cleveland State, like Chattanooga wants this done next week. So sometime after the Final Four, this will be done. Casey Long, who was at Murray State last year, former Chattanooga assistant. Wes Long from Middle Tennessee State, former Chattanooga assistant. I think the one name that's really kind of made the rounds lately, though, is Dan Earl, the head coach at VMI. Yeah. Like, he hasn't had a ton of success at VMI. It's a hard place to win, though. Like, really hard place to win. Yeah. But Dan Earl played at Penn State and was an assistant at Penn State for a while. Well, Chattanooga's AD spent 25 years as an administrator at Penn State. So there is a relationship.
All that stuff matters.
It absolutely does. I think if they go with an internal candidate, which I don't know if they would, it would be Tanner Bronson, who was an assistant there. I think he's technically the interim head coach, just kind of keeping that thing running. And the last name that keeps popping up is Brooks Savage from Wake. Again, another former Chattanooga assistant.
Yep.
So a lot of guys with some ties to the program. Obviously, I think there's some other names in there that we're not getting right now. But the people that I talk to, a lot of guys are really high on Dan Earl.
I love it. I like it. And the only ones that are open we haven't talked about that I can think of are the two SWACs, Alabama A&M, Alabama State. I'm not sure I have anything there, but be interesting to see what they do as well. All right, let's get to the D1 hires thoughts. We got a lot to talk about in this one. Let's start with the one that just happened, I believe, yesterday, which is Lafayette. They hired MJ, which I'm excited about. I think it was a great hire. I'm probably biased, but they won. He was in that league. You take a formula of a place that Colgate was probably not predicted before that to be one of the best jobs in that league. And so to do what they've done, similar type of place, love the minority hire, love the younger hire. I think he's a star in the business, and I think he's going to kill it there. So, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think it's a phenomenal hire. And I think that's what Lafayette was going for the whole time. They obviously wanted someone to great coach, great player, but someone with a high academic background. Right. Lafayette is an academic, high academic institution. But coming from Colgate in the Patriot League, but Mike Jordan was the 1996 rookie of the league in the Ivy League, right? He was the 2000 Player of the Year in the Ivy League. Yep. He's a high academic guy, so
he lived it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a great hire for them. Every candidate was either a Division I assistant from a high academic school or a Division III head coach from a high academic school. So that's what they targeted. I think this search took a little longer than some other searches, but you know what? At the end of the day, they got this one right. So that,
100% right.
Yeah, in my mind, that is like a A+ hire for them. He knows the league. He knows how to recruit at that level. Like he's gonna be a star there. He really is.
Yeah, it feels like on a much smaller scale, it's almost like the Kansas State hire of Jerome Tang to say, okay, you guys have won this league and been the best team in the league the last few years and made your little run to the tournament. Okay, let's figure out how to get somebody who's already inside and bring them over that knows the league, has won in the league, and has created something. So love this hire. Absolutely a slam dunk hire. All right, let's go to I guess we'll just go in order. Let's go Ball State. We'll talk about that one real quick.
Trying to get good hire with Michael Lewis.
Michael Lewis.
Yeah, so he played at Indiana for Bobby Knight. He's an Indiana guy. Was a high major assistant at UCLA. Good hire, solid hire. I mean, I think they had to do what they did there. So,
yeah, that one's quick and easy. We'll move to the next one. Ball State. We'll do Northridge. They decided to keep interim head coach Trent Johnson. Trent Johnson's had a lot of success prior in his career. Nevada, LSU, TCU. So, yeah, older guy, has been there, done that. Has his son on the staff, has what's my guy's name that was also on the staff? Anyway, they have some guys on the staff that feels like if they have the young energy with an older coach, they can kind of figure it out. They did not have a great season last year, but it was very tricky because they didn't know if they're getting a job, and those things are always kind of tricky. But, I mean, he has the ability to do it. He's a veteran coach. It sounds like he was very close to the AD, so this was probably already done. And try to help stabilize that program. I'm not sure if it puts them if they get the energy and can hit the transfer portal, and not a doubt of his ability to coach. It's just the recruiting aspect. Are they going to get that turn? Because I think that was the challenge his last couple stops at TCU and at LSU. My humble opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you know what? I think it was a good hire to keep him on. Yes. I mean, he took over a mess. It was a mess with the whole Mark Godfrey situation. Then not only was he the interim head coach, every one of the assistants he brought on was an interim assistant. He brought in like everybody there was interim. So what a challenging situation. And for him to, kind of get through it and be okay and kind of clean it up. it's good to see him get rewarded. And like you said, if they can get out and then recruit and hit the portal, like they've got a chance to be pretty good. But they've got a great coach there.
Yeah, I like the hire. I mean, stability. Sometimes you have to. I was in a similar situation. I came after Pat Knight left Lamar.
Yeah,
I got hired after that with Coach Price, older in his career. And again, I go back to I'm biased. I was on the staff, but I felt like we had a staff that helped Coach get that to be 20 win, back to back to back. So I think they can do a similar thing at Northridge because they have the vet to do it.
Yep.
All right, let's go next one. Let's go. Well, we know this one, but we haven't talked about this one. Let's talk about the Duke Blue Devils and the Jon Scheyer hire.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that was announced a year ago. We have it on the list because it is a coaching change, right?
Yes.
It's an interesting one. Like, you knew it was going to happen. You knew it was, a year ago it was going to stay in the Duke family. I don't
think people thought it was going to be John, though. I think people thought it was going to be like somebody coming back almost. So,
you know what? You're right. And there's two guys out there between Tommy Amaker and Johnny Dawkins, guys that have been head coaches. And I don't know, so it's an interesting one. It's an interesting hire. And, everyone that says, it was Coach K's choice here.
Yep.
Anointed his successor. And then that's
kind of like Roy Williams did with Hubert Davis.
Yep, exactly. But I think, I don't know. I mean, he's a Duke guy, man. And it's the family and all the stuff they do. Right. So, he'll be fine there, I'm sure, but he has not been a head coach before. I mean, he stepped in, a couple of times that K's been sick or whatever. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
I think early on people thought like Woj was going to come back and be the guy too. Like before when he was at Marquette, if he could get it going, he'll come back and be the guy. But I think this is one of those where we got to trust Coach K. If you're a Duke fan, I'm not a Duke fan, but you got to respect Coach K on his choice to he knows a few things about who can be successful. And then to credit Jon Scheyer, the recruiting they've done to this point points that Duke is not going to fall off. Their class is as good as anybody so far. And so that part is the biggest part for Duke is keeping those guys coming in, which I wouldn't imagine I have any problem with. Right. And then managing once he gets there. And I'm sure Coach K he'll be around and he'll still be doing his thing and he'll still have a presence. But so far so good. It'll be interesting to see. But it feels like he was almost picked too because he's younger and almost like he's the guy that's going to stay there and be the next face for Duke. I mean, you don't leave Duke if you get that job. So I'd imagine we'll see a lot of Jon Scheyer in the future. Go East Carolina next. They hired Mike Schwartz from Tennessee, longtime assistant for Coach Rick Barnes. Has done a good job at ECU. Tricky job, not an easy job, but definitely he's a grinder that will roll his sleeves up and I think get some good things done here in a difficult job.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think they just needed some fresh blood in there. And, he'll come in and recruit, man, and he'll get it done. He said he'll grind on the road and he'll get players. Not the easiest job in the world, but it's a good opportunity for him. Like you said, he'd been with Rick Barnes for a while. So, I think it's a good hire. I think it's a solid hire.
Yep.
Maybe not a sexy hire, but a solid hire.
Yeah, I think that to their credit, they probably wanted to go with somebody that they thought fit what they needed. And I do think ECU is a job you have to be a grinder to really be good. And it doesn't mean that Dooley wasn't a grinder, but you have to be a grinder at this place to be able to get it turned. And the sexy is not going to be what it is because it's just not one of those places.
Yeah.
Okay, next one we got is, I think I already had it, but we'll go back to it. Yes, the Florida hire. This is the one that a lot of people like to talk about. So we will open it up. I would say this, what I understand on it is the AD wanted to stay in his kind of that Florida mold of Billy Donovan was really young in his 30s when he got the job. Same with Mike White. Now you have Todd Golden. There might have been a relationship too when one of the people that was involved in making the decision that may have been somewhere that Todd was in the past that really liked the job he did. But bottom line is he's going from San Francisco back to the SEC. He was an assistant at Auburn. Personally, I like the hire because it fits Florida. Florida is not the job that everybody kind of thinks it is when Billy Donovan was there. But I like the hire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he obviously did a great job at San Francisco. We already talked about Murray State being like the best mid-major. Well, I think the people at San Francisco will probably disagree with that, right, with the season.
Right.
getting matched up with Murray State in the tournament. Wow. But you're right, though. I mean, it fits kind of what Florida has done in the past, with Billy D, and then with Mike White, and now with Todd Golden. I mean, he's young. He'll bring some energy. Obviously he can coach. Look what he did at San Francisco. So I think it's a good hire. And like you said, it fits. It's Florida.
Right.
That's what they do. So it's a very Florida hire.
Yeah, they've made 2 assistant coach hires. You reported one with Coach McCray coming over, SEC veteran. So they have someone who's been in the SEC, and then they also have Hovde, who was his associate head coach at San Francisco, then went to Richmond. Yeah. So they've got a couple pieces in place, very heavily in analytics. But I give Todd Golden credit on this. He did the reason why San Francisco made the jump is they did a good job in the transfer portal last year. So they did a good job. They had a base. They had good enough players, but they added a lot from the transfer portal. And it's one of those places, again, if you're a young head coach that's going to be involved in recruiting, you don't have to recruit 5-stars anymore. The game has changed. We've seen what Iowa State's done, right? They're Sweet 16 right away.
Yep.
So it can be done. Miami is just in the Sweet 16, which is in Florida as well. So it's not like people don't want to go to Florida. It's not like you're going to have a hard time selling out the portal. It's just a matter of getting the elite level recruits you need that fit his system. And I think he'll be able to do that now. The transfer portal kind of changed. You hire guys that can coach and that will recruit. I think they can figure it out. Staying in Florida, we'll go Florida Gulf Coast. Pat Chambers, he's running it back. He's back in the business, back as a head coach. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's a good coach. He had a tremendous record at Boston University. Then took over at Penn State, was there for a while. His, obviously his time there ended in a little bit of controversy. But you know what? He's a good coach. We talk about grinder. He's another Philly guy. He's a grinder, man. Like, he's going to get it done. And people talk about, Florida Gulf Coast. It's in Fort Myers. Well, what's the connection? Well, Pat Chambers has had a condo in Fort Myers for a long time, so he knows the area. He knows. Right. But I think they want to get back to like that Dunk City. What they had going with, Andy Enfield and Will Dooley and some of those guys. And I to be honest, I think Pat Chambers is probably the guy to do it. Like I said, a solid run at Penn State, but a great run at Boston University, kind of the same level as Florida Gulf Coast. So, I think he'll get it done there. I think it's a pretty good hire there.
Yeah. Let's move to the next one. We'll go to Georgia, SEC. One of those where an SEC coach chose to make a move to Georgia. And Georgia is obviously a football school, has great resources. There's a lot of players in Georgia. It seems like it's a really great fit because Mike White's such a great dude. It's underappreciated what he did at Florida because it's Florida and you're following a legend in Billy Donovan. However, Mike White can coach. He does a good job. Great guy. He will be beloved. He is probably the opposite type of personality as the previous coach, which a lot of people tend to go that way, right? So it looks like a great hire to me. I think they'll do a great job. And Georgia's expectations basketball is not the same as Florida. So if he can have similar success, I think Georgia will be really excited about that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to do a great job there. And I think the most important thing for Mike White, and I think why he made this move, is now he has time. He'll have more time.
Right.
I think there, no offense to Coach Crean and his staff, but Georgia was not very. They were terrible last year.
Right.
And they need help. They got to get fixed. Then who knows? Maybe he'll do it like Iowa State and have them in the tournament next year. I don't know, but he'll have a little bit of time to fix that thing. And like, maybe a little bit underappreciated at Florida, and maybe I don't know how much time he would have had left there, even though they weren't bad. So I think it was a good move for him. I think it's a good move for Georgia. I think it's a good marriage altogether. So I think I think he's going to have some success there.
Yeah, and this is one of those that happened really quick. So congrats to the staff and Mike White. Good luck to you guys. And hired Kenny Miskadeem and Eric Pastrana so far as assistants. So those guys going with them. Love to see that. Holy Cross got the baton has been tossed down to Gigi Smith, if I'm not mistaken, from Tubby Smith. Tell us about your thoughts on this one.
That's High Point, not Holy Cross.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not Holy Cross yet, man. You're going to jinx
something.
Close.
Sorry about that. Excuse me, Holy Cross. High Point is what I meant. Similar color, similar H's, similar league. So excuse me for that, Holy Cross.
So, this is an interesting one. obviously this happened towards the end of the season. But so if you read between the lines, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So I think when Tubby Smith was hired, a while ago, Gigi Smith came in with him and was the quote unquote coach in waiting. So, Tubby resigned towards the end of the season. But if you read the wording that came out of High Point, they said Gigi Smith will be the head coach for the rest of this season and for the 22-23 season. And that's all he said. So, it's a little bit scary. So there's obviously not a long-term commitment there. It's hard to recruit if you don't have, a bunch of years on your contract. So by them saying, he'll be the head coach for the rest of this season and for the 22-23 season, I don't know. It's a little bit scary. So I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully he has some success next year and can continue after next year. But it's going to be interesting. That'll be one to keep an eye on, this time next year.
Yep. Well said. You know more about that one than myself. Ryan Peden is the next one. I'll get the jobs right from here on out. Excuse me again, Holy Cross. Yes. So Illinois State. Illinois State, Ryan Peden hires longtime Ohio State assistant. Seems like a great hire. They did this decisively and got it in place. Tell us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, same like you said. I think a guy with high major experience, known as a really good recruiter. I think that's what Illinois State needs. Younger guy come in and hopefully turn that thing around. So really solid hire for them.
Knows the region. Again, they were decisive on it. I think that's the part where if you're decisive early, you probably knew your guy is. You knew exactly what you were looking for, and that's half the battle. Is the administration going to get behind them to support it? And it looks like this one is one you'd like to think anyone that they hired are going to support, but when it's this early, this decisive, it seems like it's something that they really wanted and a match on both sides.
You know what? And to be honest, the other thing I like about it, I think so far out of the 36 new hires, only 14 have been first-time head coaches, first-time Division I head coaches. Wow. So that's why I think it's a good. I like to see the guys that have been Division I assistants for a long time, especially high major guys. It's nice to see them finally get their opportunity. And I think it's a good opportunity for him. So absolutely,
we'll stay in the state theme and go Jackson State. We talked about this in a little bit. Familiarity. Mo Williams comes over, knows the AD really well. Seems like it's a great hire. Another pro athlete that's there on campus at Jackson State. Jackson State, pretty good job within the HBCU ranks and within the SWAC. So seems like a great hire. They were decisive on it again. Seems like it'll be a great marriage and a little more in the South to where, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a better job within that league. So I feel like he'll do very well now that he kind of knows what he's doing and what he wants.
Yep. No, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's a better job in the league. And, Jackson State with the, they want the former pros. You got Prime coaching football. And now Mo Williams, who's a longtime NBA guy. So it fits. He'll be able to sell that in the recruiting pitch. And,
they'll be making viral videos together very soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see it.
It's a great move for him. It's a great move for Jackson State.
Yes. Speaking of going in the state theme again, staying in the state theme, this is arguably, if not my favorite hire, one of my favorite hires of the entire offseason. Kansas State, Jerome Tang. I'll let you take it first, and then I'll jump in last.
No, you're right. And we've talked about it, spent 19 years at Baylor as an assistant, knows how to recruit in the Big 12. And again, another, first-time Division I head coach getting an opportunity. Well-deserved. Some of these schools you're going with the young guys, like a Todd Golden, young, 35, whatever. But it's nice to see, Jerome Tang, 55 years old, getting his chance. He will absolutely murder it there. He'll be phenomenal. Like you said, I think absolutely home run hire, maybe one of the best hires in the offseason.
Right. I agree. I love it for so many reasons, but if you look at the themes of college basketball last year, again, we talked about this. Mark Adams, one of the stories, Sweet 16. We didn't give him shout out, but I think the world's pretty much giving him shout out. Kind of one of those programs some people may have thought, they're going to fall off. They don't have Chris Beard anymore. But Mark Adams takes them to the Sweet 16, but was the right-hand man to Chris Beard in the same league. This is a similar hire. Number one seed, Arizona, Tommy Lloyd. So it's a theme that's been successful recently, but also Jerome Tang, you can't get a better human being that has been doing this 19 years as an assistant is still incredible, will always be incredible. I don't know if anyone will break that at a place like that and win a national championship. So he's going to bring the energy. He's hired an elite level staff already. And Kansas State, I can see them following in trend of Iowa State and Texas Tech as far as making their run pretty quick, and they'll be able to recruit from high school. You'll see a lot of Texas guys over there. You can say that now. And then you'll see a lot of good players from the portal and a little bit of international. He was also the Haitian national team coach, him and Jareem Dowling. So look forward to seeing what they do there. Kind of staying in the South, another Big 12. We just talked about former Big 12 assistant Talvin Hester gets the Louisiana Tech job. He was an assistant there, did a tremendous job when he was there, recruited some really good players there. Just been, I mean, one thing about Talvin Hester that doesn't get credit, he won at Houston and was a big part of laying the foundation with what Houston's done. Recruited some really good players there. Had to make the move to ORU, had to take a step back, and recruits guys like Kevin O'Banner, who then plays for him at Texas Tech later. Great story. But they make that Sweet 16 run at ORU. He wasn't there. He was at La Tech, but he recruited those guys. La Tech wins a championship. Then he actually takes the Colorado State job, gets hired at Texas Tech in the same offseason and Sweet 16. He's going to do terrific. He's a sharp dude, first-class guy. People will love him and recruit him. He'll hire a great staff, and I look forward to seeing what he does. He's one of the first-time hires, one of the few.
That's right. Yeah, no, and just to echo what you're saying, you're right. It's a great hire. I mean, he was there 2018 to 2021 under Eric Conkle, and they were successful. Leaves for a year to go to Texas Tech, but I think that's what you want. You want to keep that program moving in the right direction, and he was a part of that success, a big part of that success.
Right.
So, they made the right hire. It's a great hire for them.
And Kenny Lofton, one of the stars of college basketball that he recruited, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you see him sneak back in there, but I think Tal won't keep those guys together that are there that have a chance to come back. Kenny Payne, let's talk about Louisville. This is one of those that was open early and then it kind of changed. Let's talk about Louisville.
Yeah, you know what? Phenomenal hire. This, they should have hired it from the start. As soon as Chris Mack resigned, 24 hours later, they should have hired Kenny Payne. But you know what? They did it. It's hard at Louisville right now because they do have an interim AD who should be the AD. But it took him a little while. Kenny Payne was an assistant with the Knicks, but Kenny Payne's a Louisville guy, man. He won a 1986 national championship as a player there. He understands the history of the program. I mean, you saw, when he got hired, he got off the plane and the first person he hugged was Denny Crum, and that's Louisville royalty. So he will be exactly what Louisville needs. Phenomenal hire. It's too bad it took so long. I don't know if they lose some traction in the portal or anything, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they got it right. Big time hire. He will do a phenomenal job there.
Agreed. I got bombarded by the crew.
I like it.
All right, let's go next job. I'll get you a marker. 1 second. You want to come say hi? All right, let's talk about LSU next. That's a big one. Probably not the fit that people anticipated, but you can't question his ability to coach. And again, the transfer portal, he's already had success. Yes, sweetheart. You see the will and determination over here. Okay, here you go. But he already has had success in the transfer portal, bringing in some of his Murray State guys. Talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah, no, I think this is a phenomenal hire for LSU. I mean, obviously, major issues there with Will Wade and what he did. I think they needed a steady, calming influence to come and straighten this thing out. And I think Matt McMahon's the guy to do it. He obviously was phenomenal at Murray State. The season they had this year was unbelievable. He's a professional. He'll do a great job there. And I think, he is aware of, there's going to be some kind of sanctions coming. But I think he's good enough, and I think he'll be committed long-term enough. And I think that's what they wanted, a long-term guy who's going to be there and get them through what they might be facing, because I think they're going to face some stuff here. But be a calming influence, be a guy they can coach, a guy they can recruit, and I think he'll have them back on the right track pretty shortly here. So I think that's a really good move for them. Smart move.
Absolutely. I would imagine he's going to bring some staff over with him. He's already hired Cody Topper, which I think is a great fit. Shout out to Cody.
Yep.
D1, Maine, Chris Markwood. I like the hire because of the fact he was so successful in Boston, in that region, at Northeastern. Big piece of that puzzle. As we keep having chaos over here.
Love it.
Yeah.
you know what? So Mark Wood, he's the main guy. Played his high school basketball in Portland. Was the main state player of the year as senior in high school. Went to Notre Dame for a little bit, but finished his career at Maine. So he gets it. An interesting move. I think in the past, Maine has not been a very good job. But, you hear from some people around it, they've made some commitments to facilities, and they're going to dump some money into that program. Be curious to see, what his salary would be if he was actually making more at Boston College in the ACC as an assistant. But, maybe he gave him the Maine hometown discount. Hopefully he can get it going there. You look in that league in the America East, like the success that Vermont has had, maybe, can that place be turned into, something like a Vermont where you can win consistently. But it is definitely a tough job. It is not an easy job by any means. But you know what? He's a main guy, so it's the right move. You just hope that he has some success there.
Right move. And again, one of those guys who's had success as an assistant, helping Northeastern be a really, really good program for a long time. So excited to see him get that opportunity. Staying on the East Coast, Maryland. This is one that early job that was open, kind of like Kenny Payne. Give them both credit. They hired a little bit later than people maybe thought, but they hired the guys that was rumored from the beginning, and they got their guy.
Yeah. No, you're right. It did. It took a while. I mean, Danny Manning was the interim coach there for a long, long time, and at one point it looked like he was going to continue, maybe just get the job. But it's a good hire. Kevin Willard, he's a winner. He did a heck of a job at Seton Hall. He can coach, he can recruit. He is not a DMV guy, but look at the staff that he's already started to bring in. Tony Skinn from Ohio State, David Cox, who was the head coach at URI. Both local guys. They will bring in players. And if you've heard Kevin Willard in some of his early kind of press conferences, he says it all the time. There are players in Maryland. There's enough players that you can win a championship with local guys. So I think he's going to attack the area. I think he's bringing in the staff that knows how to recruit in the area. So I think it's a really, really good hire for Maryland. Like you said, it took a little bit of time, but I think it's a great hire.
Yeah, I agree. And I love Tony Skinn, and I love if anybody can recruit that area, and they have chemistry together from working together at Seton Hall. So I absolutely love this hire for so many reasons. This is one of the coolest ones to see guys from the Division II level, although Queens is going Division I here soon, to see guys from Division II level get a Division I opportunity. Barton Lundy, kind of, if I'm not mistaken, is that the formula that Bruce Pearl was? Bruce Pearl a Division II coach? I know he was at Milwaukee.
He was
a Division II coach prior to, so they kind of taking that old formula for success and bringing it back. Congrats to Bart Lundy. I think this was a great one.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's a good point. Bruce Pearl was the head coach of Southern Indiana. I believe he won a Division II national championship at Southern Indiana. But yeah, Bart Lundy can just coach. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous. He's won a ton of games at Queens. But nice to see, him or any Division II get a, head coach get a chance at Division I level. And we've talked about the candidates there. A lot of the guys they were talking to, I think 6 out of the 8 guys were actually Division II or NAIA head coaches. So I think that was their plan all along. But Bart Lundy, man, like all he's done is win at Queens and Charlotte. So I think it's a really good hire. I think he'll do a great job there. And again, you know what? We're really excited that his assistant at Queens, Grant Leonard, got the Queens job.
Yes,
he deserved it. He'd been there like 9-10 years with Lundy. Yep. They've obviously done a phenomenal job. So it's nice, at the Division II level, and Queens will probably be going Division I, but nice to see like Grant Leonard get promoted and get that job at Queens. Well deserved.
Yeah, I love that. Love everything about that. Let's go stay in the M's, Mississippi State. I thought the first time I heard the candidates possible for this job, even though it wasn't open yet, but they were weird one on this one because it seemed like they were interviewing and filling out, but Mississippi State was still playing. They were trying to figure out who they're going to hire. But the first time I heard this name, I'm like, he's getting a job. There's not a better fit, in my humble opinion, of somebody who fits this job. And what an upgrade from New Mexico State type of job, just resources, but a similar type of niche. So, yeah, I think Chris Jans, this is a home run, grand slam type of hire. Hard place to win, tricky job a little bit, but, man, I think he's going to crush it there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the job that he did at New Mexico State, he's gonna bring some energy. He's gonna go get guys, and like you said, it's a tough place to recruit. Obviously, one of the best leagues in the country, but he's ready for it. Like he's built his resume, like this is where he was headed. So, like you said, as soon as first time I heard that name, like, oh, yep, There you go.
He's getting it. Yeah, most of the trend from New Mexico State recently has been Mountain West. UNLV, Marvin Menzies.
Yeah.
What's my guy's name they went to New Mexico. Paul Weir went to New Mexico. Those guys, New Mexico State's been this launching pad, but no one's gone quite to Power 5 level. And this is a great fit because you can recruit JUCO. Obviously, you can recruit the South and get some good high school players there. But, man, you can recruit the portal, and they'll do a good job. And, they'll be tough. They'll be gritty, and they'll be ready in the SEC, which is definitely a level of play where Mississippi State is not one of those teams that you're expecting to be good. They don't have to have the most talent, but, man, they're going to have enough talent, and they're going to be tough.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing what they do there.
Yeah.
Let's go. I don't know a lot about this one. Mississippi Valley State, I don't know a lot about.
I'll give you just real quick. So this is an interesting one. So George Ivory, he's a Mississippi Valley State alum. And, Lindsey Hunter was placed on leave about a month ago in the season. So George Ivory actually took over then, and they took the interim title off. So we've got some familiarity with the program, with the league, with everything around there. So, solid hire. I mean, again, obviously Lindsey Hunter, some issues there at the end, and Hunter came in and kind of righted the ship. So good for him to keep going with that.
Yes, Mississippi Valley State. We will go next to, drum roll, please. Okay, thank you for playing with it. Dennis Gates, Missouri. Let's talk about Missouri.
Yeah, what a great hire, huh? Obviously, moving on from Quanzo Martin, too bad he didn't have the success I guess they wanted him to have there. But Dennis Gates is phenomenal. The job that he did at Cleveland State, really turning around a dumpster fire that Dennis Felton had left really quickly in 3 years. I think he'll do great things at Missouri. He's done it before. He's turned around a program before. So I think he'll come in. It's a great level for him to be at the SEC. The SEC just gets stronger with some of the coaches they brought in right now. So really good hire, kind of up there with one of my favorite hires, like with the Jerome Tang hire. I really, really like this hire.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the hire. Dennis Gates, first class, great basketball coach. He's going to do a great job hiring. He's going to do a great job recruiting. Already got the number one JUCO player in the country. Dennis Gates is just a guy you just know is going to do a phenomenal job. And Conzo Martin probably didn't win to the level they wanted to, but he's already proven he's a great coach. He's going to land on his feet in a great spot. I love this hire, Dennis Gates. And he didn't get the last cycle, but the good thing is he had pretty much his whole team back. They win the league again. I think 2-time coach of the year, 2-time conference champ, 1 NCAA tournament. He's going to do a great job. And most of the time, guys don't make the move from that level to the high major level as well. So credit to him on being able to get that to be made happen. We got a party over here in case you can't hear. We have a party. We got another one of these circle back hires. Murray State hires back one of their own. Talk about this hire.
Yeah, again, Steve Prom, good hire here, kind of like with Sean Miller going back to Xavier and Ed Conroy going back to the Citadel, like guys who have had
it's part of the themes of the season.
It is, and then, he didn't have the success that they want him to have at Iowa State, was 2-22 his last year there. But you know what? He had a lot of success at Murray State. So, I think it's a good hire. He's a familiar face. He knows them. They know him. And he's won. He has won there. He did not win at Iowa State, but it's a different level. So I think he'll do a good job. I think he'll continue kind of what he started and what his former assistant, Mac McMahon, continued. So I think that's a really solid hire for Murray State.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well said. All right, we'll go to the next one. And you have to give a little bit of acknowledgement. Field 68, to their credit, just keeps getting guys to go to their little network and be on TV, and the next thing you know, they get hired. So if you're out of a job, not a bad idea to join some kind of television because it's worked for a lot of guys. Greg Heyer, New Mexico State. Definitely a guy who fits this place 100%. Greg Heyer deserves an opportunity, I believe, to be a Division I head coach. And if there was a place he was going to get one, this was a place. This is the fit. He will do a great job there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's coming off just won the Division I national championship in Northwest Florida. So for him, I think a lot of people think maybe James Miller would have gotten this job, who was the associate head coach there with Jans, but he's going with Jans to Mississippi State. Now that Heyer's gotten this, but great hire at New Mexico State. He will absolutely win games. He knows how to win. He's been a high major assistant. He will absolutely get it done there. So it's a good move for him.
Yeah, he'll do well, and he'll recruit very well. He knows how to win. He talked about it in one of his locker room meetings. He's won 90% of his games. Has relationships with his players. The James Miller part, I think the part what makes this unique is both guys were Chris Jans guys. I think naturally Coach Jans has always supported Greg Heyer, but at the same time, I think he was pushing for James Miller because it was his last assistant, and he brought him right away to Mississippi State. So two guys that both had ties to the former head coach, which normally if you're going to hire an outside guy, normally the inside guy would get it, but if you're going to hire an outside guy, another guy that has ties to the head coach, I do love that aspect. And James Miller will be a terrific head coach very soon. There's many guys that interviewed very well. Tang didn't get the UTEP job last year. Other guys didn't get certain. Dennis Gates, we just talked about, didn't get certain jobs. Next thing you know, they get the right one. I think James Miller will be in that same conversation here very soon.
Definitely.
Northwestern State, Corey Gibson. This was kind of one of those that people weren't expecting, didn't see coming. Excited for Curry. He is the first, or last year, the Southland Conference didn't have any minority assistant head coaches. Had no minority head coaches. They do now. Missouri State's done a great job. Had one of the better teams in the Missouri Valley. Was borderline tournament team. So excited for him to have this chance. So, yeah, talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah, no, you're right. Kind of like one of those, out of left field hirings a little bit, not a lot of connection to the program, but, had been at Missouri State for the last 7 years or so, has done a great job as an assistant. And like we said, one of these, really good young coaches that deserves a chance. And, Division I jobs aren't easy to get, so it's good to see him get this opportunity. I think he'll be really successful there.
Yeah, I think the cool part about this one is normally you have to be a high major assistant to even get a sniff. So to be at a mid-major Missouri Valley and get a head coaching job, phenomenal for him to have that opportunity. Richie Riley was a guy in the same state that did a great job at Nichols, coming from Clemson. So Corey Gibson, just to get a shot, definitely a tricky job, but I think he'll do a good job recruiting there. And the Southland Conference is as wide open kind of as it's ever been. A lot of those teams went to the WAC, so I see him having success right away. Chris Crutchfield finally gets his shot at Omaha. The former Omaha guy comes back home. Talk about this one. Super excited for him to have this opportunity.
Yeah, great hire for them. Obviously, he's an Omaha alum. And he's had a bunch of high major jobs, and especially over the last few years, right? He was at Arkansas.
I think you had a tracker here recently on that one.
The last 5 years, they've been nuts between Arkansas, and then he was a Division II head coach at East Central in Oklahoma for a year. Then he was at Oregon. He's bounced around a bunch here, but really, he's done a good job setting himself up for this. I think this is the job that he wanted, and this is the place where he belongs. I think he'll do a great job. And it's nice, obviously it's great that he's an alum, but you know what? He's been a head coach before. He's coached at the high major level. He checks all the boxes. He checks all the boxes to be successful. Since Omaha made the move from Division II to Division I, they haven't been, really successful, but I think this is what they need. They need the energy of a Chris Crutchfield to come, take them to the next level. I think he will.
Yeah, you talk about recruiting. I mean Trey Young, I believe for sure, and then Buddy Hill was a part of coaching him in Oklahoma, and got to coach his sons, which was really cool at ECU for a year, kind of at that lower level, kind of figuring it out. And but before that, he was a head coach at Tyler Junior College, where he was really successful. So Chris Crutchfield's always gotten players, first class dude. Love this hire, slam dunk all the way. They will be a great team to follow. Rhode Island, Archie Miller, he's back at it again.
Yeah,
Rhode Island.
Yeah, back at it. Obviously, had a decent run in Indiana, I guess, but had success in the Atlantic 10 at Dayton. So, and I think that's the important thing here. He knows the league, he knows the level. I think you can be successful at URI. They've got a pretty good facility. During his time at Dayton, he won 139 games during his tenure. Had a really good, almost a 700 winning percentage. Not quite as good as Indiana. Struggled his last year there, going 12-15. But I think, kind of back to the level that he's had success. So I think it's a good hire for Rhode Island. I think he'll do a good job there.
Yeah, the high major success is not always the best indicator, but those guys that have had success, like we've talked about it, the guys that have had success there before, they know how to win in that league. So I like the hire. Rhode Island definitely wanted to get a basketball dude. I think the timeout has probably served him very well, and I see him hopefully doing some good things here, and look forward to watching, see what they do. San Fran, this is a hire I love. Coach G. First, when I met Coach G, Chris Gerlifson, he was an assistant at Southwestern University in Georgetown, a Division III. So from a Division III assistant to a Division I head coach, had success at San Diego with Lamont Smith as an assistant on that staff. Has done a tremendous job last year recruiting and kind of helping out a little bit with the offense. Great offensive mind. I think he'll hire a great staff, and I think he'll do a good job. With BYU leaving the league, it definitely makes that third spot kind of open. It seems like, Gonzaga and St. Mary's kind of either have one of those. Usually Gonzaga's one. St. Mary's either has two or three, and then somebody else sneaks in. I like this hire.
Yeah, so and like we say, a guy, he was the associate head coach there, had a lot of success under Todd Golden. He's definitely paid his dues. Like you mentioned, a bunch of places he was. He was also up here in New England for like 9 years.
Hartford. Yep.
Assistant University of Hartford. So it's good to see guys like that have paid their dues, that have been part of a winning program to get the bump. Like he deserves it. So I hope he is successful. And like you said, kind of like Gonzaga, St. Mary's have cemented themselves as that top two, but hopefully they can stay in that mix, at the top three. Maybe even better. Who knows?
Yeah, no doubt.
For them.
Does a good job recruiting. I can think about the first time he was at Citadel as well, which is another one of those grinder spots. He's grinded his way. Jarrett Von Rosenberg, the first recruit I ever signed. He's the head coach at Texas A&M Commerce on the men's side. Right. Signed him at Collin County. I saw Chris Gerlifson at Kingwood Classic. I said, hey, man, you guys recruited him to Citadel. He played for us. You got to take him to Hartford. Rest of the story is history. He went to Hartford, and those guys are both head coaches now, which is cool to see. Winding down, we're getting close to the stretch bottom. We got some other ones. Chris Victor, we knew that hire was going to happen, or thought it was going to happen. It happened pretty quickly. Sacramento State, however, has not hired, which is kind of interesting what's happening there. We'll talk about that next episode. But let's talk about Seattle real quick. Got to give Chris Victor his flowers, winning the conference, co-champions the first year. Tricky situation. He did a terrific job, and I think he'll continue to be good there.
Yeah, he did. Obviously, a really messy situation back in the fall with Jim Hayford there, and he got dismissed, and Chris Victor took over as the interim and really did a good job of righting the ship. They had, like you said, they had a phenomenal year. They were great, and I think he brought some energy. He rallied everybody. They bought into him, and he was successful. And again, credit to the administration at Seattle to take the interim tag off and give him the job. Like, he deserves it. Absolutely deserves it.
He deserved it. They didn't wait too long and did it before the season was over.
Yeah.
So they could still make their run. And congratulations on a great first year. I'm going to go SMU next. Again, I'm another bias hire. Home. I'm from Dallas, graduate high school, not too far from this place. And rather near top shelf, first-class dude. When we interviewed him on All Access, he talked about the success he didn't have at Siena and how that's helped him he did have success at Siena, but he didn't have the success he wanted, and that's helped him a lot. And then Georgia State, he goes and has success. Competed with that Gonzaga team very well in that game, too. I think that goes understated. Really good basketball coach. He's going to do a great job. Was at Texas with Rick Barnes, so he's been in the state. He knows what it takes to recruit in that state. Recruited some very good players like Miles Turner when he was there. So, yeah, we'll talk more about this one. Let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's you made a good point there. Maybe not having the success that he wanted to. He was the head coach at Siena from 01 to 05. They were okay, average. But when he left Siena, he went, the high major assistant route, high major assistant, Virginia, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and then became the head coach at Georgia State back in 19, went 53-30, did a really good job, won some games, and, absolutely deserves to be the head coach at SMU. He's done a great job. He's proven he can win, at Georgia State. So I think it's a really good hire for him. So, yeah, it's good. It's good when you see the good guys get hired. So
first-class dude. You love to see the good guys get hired. And this is one of those where the cycle, the way it went, it was like SMU was kind of that last job. There was this wave of all these guys getting hired, and then people thought Grant McCasland was going to take it. He decides to stay at North Texas, which is in the same league, which, again, Grant McCasland fan, used to work for Grant. I think he's one of the best, and I think he'll get his whatever it is next. But to stay was a great decision for them. Well, then they made this decision really quickly. They were really decisive again, didn't waste a lot of time, knew what they wanted, and they got their guy. A few more left. We did the SMU one. Let's go UMass. I'm going a little out of order, but you mentioned Frank Martin earlier. Another one of those hires I absolutely love. Frank Martin is one of the faces of college basketball. He has always has great viral content that goes viral on social media, but just a well-loved guy in the business, one of the great guys, and did a great job at South Carolina. Was there for a long time, took them to a Final Four, and then obviously just being able to get back kind of in another spot where they needed somebody with some presence and a resume and all of those things. And he's already been probably more active on Twitter than he's been in a long time already, which is cool to see him embracing kind of that role. So, yeah, I love this fit.
Yeah, I think it's a great hire for UMass. Like you said, they needed someone with like presence, and he does. He brings a big presence and a big personality. And, it did take South Carolina to the, Final Four. Didn't make any other NCAA appearances, though. But he does have a lot of New England ties. He spent 4 years as an assistant up here at Northeastern, so he knows the area. And interestingly enough, his wife was an all-conference hurdler at UMass back in the late 90s. She did like the 55-meter hurdles and the 100-meter hurdles, and she's like still.
How about that?
So there is definitely a connection there. So, I think he'll get it. He'll get it done there. I mean, there's not a lot going on in Western Mass. So, he will be the show in Western Mass. There's definitely not a lot going on there. So I think he'll be good. He makes the A10 a lot stronger. It's a really good hire for the A10.
A10 is smoking fire right now. I would not want to be in that league trying to figure out how to get an at-large or win the tournament. I mean, that's a high level. The bottom of the league just got stronger and the top was already strong. So right. This league is a serious basketball league if you love hoops. South Carolina, Lamont Paris. I do love the hire. Obviously, I'm biased, but he had tremendous success as an assistant at Wisconsin and then at UT Chat. Just got over the hump. You get hot at the right time, but another first-class dude that just understands how to win and did a great job in the transfer portal. And I think despite the noise in the background, I do think South Carolina is a transfer portal type of job. So tell us your thoughts.
No, you're right. I think it's a great hire here. Obviously, you said he spent 7-8 years as an assistant at Wisconsin, has that high major experience. But the job he did at Chattanooga was amazing. So they won 27 games this year, but every year they got better or were trending to get better. There's one 2021 COVID year kind of screwed him up, but he increased his win total from 10 to 12 to 20. They took a little dip in that COVID year, but they didn't play enough games, and then up to 27 this year. So he's a guy that he came in there and got Chattanooga better, and to win 27 games, I mean that's amazing.
And that COVID year, I believe, because we interviewed them on All Access, I believe they were undefeated to start the year. They won like their first 13, 14 games, and maybe didn't end the way that they wanted with injuries, whatever. COVID was a weird year, but he's done a terrific job. I love this hire. Again, another first-class dude.
Yep, I think it's a phenomenal hire for South Carolina.
South Dakota, I like this hire. Got to bring back the assistant that had success. Eric Peterson gets hired here. Assistant at Utah, was at Utah State, was a head coach at Williston State in junior college. Really like this hire. Tricky job. One of those jobs is like, is South Dakota supposed to be good? But they just kind of find a way to be good somehow. And he was obviously on a run where they were good there with Craig Smith. So I like this hire for him to get back.
Yeah, no, I think you said it all. I don't think there's much to add there. You're right. You bring back a former assistant who had success. Like you said, when Craig Smith was there, and then he followed Craig Smith around to a couple stops, and now he's back and hopefully can continue what Craig Smith started at South Dakota. But it's great hire. Great hire. So you're on mute, Brian. I can't hear you.
There's a lot of background here. Trying to give guys some, give everyone, the listeners, some. I'm with you. Ears. Tulsa. This hire is a good one. Eric Conkle, former Miami assistant, former George Mason assistant, did a terrific job at Louisiana Tech. Regionally close. He'll continue to do a great job in the portal with JUCO transfers and recruiting Texas, bringing the staff over. I think a great coach and an underrated coach in that league. People don't talk about as much, but great move for Tulsa to hire Eric Conte.
Yeah, no, you're right. He at Louisiana Tech had won 24 games back-to-back seasons, did a really good job there. Solid coach. I mean, 153 and 75 during his time there. It's a 671 winning percentage. That's a big time number at the Division I level. So it's a good hire for Tulsa. Like you said, he is definitely, he's bringing his whole staff there. They've announced a couple of them, but all those guys are there right now.
Yep.
It's a good move for Tulsa, good move for him. So yeah, happy to see him make that.
Yeah, I love when guys bring their staff. Doesn't happen as much as you'd love it to, but he's one of those guys that chose to bring his whole staff. I think we're at the last one. We got 2 left. We both talked about this kind of trend. We'll go both of them at the same time. Citadel first with Ed Conroy. Great hire to bring him back. And then Xavier, somewhat controversial hire, but many think a good hire as well. So we'll go Citadel first.
Yeah, so you know what? The Citadel's it's a good hire, bringing Ed Conroy back. He was the head coach there 2006, 2010. The Citadel is not an easy place to win, with the military. There's a lot of stuff going on. But the one stat that really sticks out when you talk about Ed Conroy I'll be close on these numbers, but in the 122-year history of Citadel basketball, they've only had two 20-win seasons, and one of them was under Ed Conroy. So, it's a good hire. He understands the place. He gets it. He went on to Tulane after he left the Citadel. Was okay. It was 500 there about in like 6-7 years. But then, he went on, he worked at Minnesota, worked at Vanderbilt. So, he's had some good experiences since, but I just think it's a really solid hire for the Citadel, someone who knows the place. And you know what, to be honest, like he wanted that job. Like he pushed hard for that job when it opened. So it's a good hire. You really want someone that wants to be there like he does, and someone who's had, some success there.
And someone who, knows how to win there. That's not an easy place to win. Not an easy job whatsoever. So definitely got to give credit for this hire. I like the hire. I thought Tulane was a little bit of just a weird fit. Not so much that he can't coach. It's a weird fit, but I think he'll do well at Citadel, being that he's been there before. Yep. The last one. Got some controversy around this one. Many people think it's way too early for him to already get another job after the whole thing with Arizona. The penalties don't come with him. Sean Miller, there's no doubt he can coach at a high level. There's no doubt even what he did at Arizona, despite all that was going on, he can coach basketball. I think the part that people have a problem with is the whole NCAA thing to get a job already. Obviously, Patino's back, so why not him, I guess. There are assistant coaches that are out there still, though, like his assistant, Book Richardson, not able to coach anymore. So that's the part I think that people have the biggest problem with. Some people don't care, but there are guys Will Wade doesn't have his job now, so every situation is different. But this one, good hire from a basketball standpoint, controversial on the other side. He will do well there, though.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's exactly what it is. He obviously, ran into a lot of issues at Arizona, but it's the mentality. It's you got to win. It's college basketball. It's a moneymaker. You got to win.
Yeah.
If you look at Sean Miller's, take away the other stuff, right? You look at his numbers; they're absurd. So at Xavier, he went 120 and 47. During his first time there, right? 05 through 09. That's a 719 winning percentage. 719 winning percentage, pretty good, right? At Arizona,
incredible.
From 09 to 21, he went 302 and 109. That's 735. I mean, it's, he literally just wins. I mean, he wins games. And again, you could say that there might be a reason he wins some of those games, whatever. But, at the end of the day, you're in, you got to win games.
It's a business of winning. That's what it is. People can say what they want to say. College basketball is a business, and these programs want to win. Xavier didn't go to the tournament this whole time.
So, right. So, you know what? So I think that's a big part of it. So, Travis Steele, really good guy, 4 years at Xavier, didn't go to one tournament. Sean Miller, his first run there, the last 4 years of Sean Miller's run there, he went NCAA first round, second round, Elite Eight, Sweet 16. He had Xavier humming a little bit. And he said earlier, hey, they're in the NIT championship, and that's great. Like Travis Steele set that up. Jonas Hayes is bringing it home.
Yep.
Still not the same as an NCAA run,
Not even close.
It's still not close.
Not even close. Yeah, he's won at a high level. You got to give. No one's ever doubted his ability to coach. He can coach at a high level. He will do a terrific job with Xavier. I would not be surprised to see them really good for as long as he's there. So that's all the hires that we have. That's the show. Final thoughts. Final Four. This year you're not going. People will miss you. What's your thoughts on anything from this job stuff to Final Four to we'll let you kind of help us close it out.
Well, you know what? It's just been busy. It's been busy early, like we keep talking about.
It has been.
I think, and I've said a lot, I put 58.5 as my number of Division I job openings. I think we're at 47 right now. We're going to sneak up closer to that number. There's going to be, with the current openings, there's like 12 current openings right now. Probably half of those are going to go to current Division I head coaches, right? Open 6 more jobs. But the one thing to to think about in the next couple of days, April 1st is a big day. April 1st is when a lot of guys' buyouts drop. So kind of beware of April 1st sneaking up on us. So that's my kind of final thought. Like, we're not done.
That's the breadcrumbs.
That's it right there. We are not done. So stay tuned.
Yeah, normally the Final Four, there has not been this much movement before. Like, you've talked about it many times. Normally that's when people may meet or interview, but that's not the case anymore. But there are some more jobs coming. That much is for sure. So thanks for joining us. You know where to find us. We're right at our time limit, and thanks again. We'll see you soon.